Do you think this will help flip the switch on for independents or even Democrats for whom this was not a top priority issue?
I don't think the speeches are going to have that kind of impact. I think what is really going to decide the fate of this negotiation is ultimately the fact that the Democrats have an alternative to their current position, and Trump does not have an alternative to his. There is no way Trump can compromise on his demand for border wall funding. He has staked his entire presidency on it. And so if he compromises, he will lose his political support, and Democrats will be able to basically steamroll him on every other issue. So he's going down with the ship if this thing does not work out. Whereas Democrats could compromise on this and they would still retain their support, because what motivates their base is not this particular issue, but the desire to get rid of Donald Trump. So they could do a deal and still walk away and fight another day. I think ultimately the fact that Democrats can compromise and Trump cannot is going to decide this particular contest in Trump's favor. What the result is in the long run, that remains to be seen. But I think Trump, ironically, by leaving himself no alternative, has created a very strong bargaining position in this negotiation.
You know, I enjoy Ann Coulter. I think she's smart. I think she's a provocateur sometimes on purpose. She's an entertainer sometimes on purpose. But I think she was one of the few people to early on grasp Trump's chances and his appeal. And of course, she wrote a hagiography of him almost in Trump We Trust. She has essentially said, if you don't do the wall, you've lost me forever. And she's been critical of some of the people in Trump's team, including Trump's son, Jared Kushner. So she, I think, in some ways represents the Trumpiest part of the Trump base. She seems, and I'm not putting everything on Ann, but I think she's a very good elocutor of this point of view. She's still worried that there are forces around Trump that would cave in a second. In the Senate, Jared Kushner, his son-in-law himself. You seem to think there's no way Trump can compromise. Is that true?
I couldn't hear everything you said, but I think, just to comment on Ann Coulter, she essentially laid out the shape of Trump's address. She said he should make the compassionate case for the wall, and he did. In terms of her criticism of the administration, I think, look, it's a repeated refrain among conservatives, this idea we're going to be sold out by the people we've elected to office and the people they've hired to advise them. I think given the history of the last several decades, especially on this issue, that's a reasonable fear. And I'm not saying that her criticisms are necessarily unwarranted, but I think the White House is pretty unified on this issue. The Senate Republicans are united on this issue. Ironically, because Democrats won the midterms in the way they did by wiping out the moderate Republicans, there's going to be very little dissent from Republicans on this issue. Maybe one or two senators, maybe one or two representatives, but you would have seen a couple of dozen maybe agitating for an end to the shutdown before border wall funding had been provided. So ironically, the Republicans, by losing so many seats in moderate districts in the House, don't have the same degree of internal opposition and are basically in lockstep with the president on this. They also realize their own political fate hinges on his success in this negotiation.
That's an excerpt from the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a video monologue and then I interview an interesting guest, and then I end by reading my hate mail. But you've got to subscribe to it, which you can do at therebel.media/shows.